Hello, hello, hello. Today I am here with Mackenzie Armstrong, and we are going to be talking all about Pinterest. I am so excited about this because although I do have a Pinterest, I probably haven't opened up my Pinterest for like 4 years. So I'm very, very excited to see what she has to talk about. And who knows, maybe we'll see me on Pinterest soon. This is going to be so much fun. For those of you that don't know me, I am the host here at Her Talk Show. My name is Sabrina Victoria. If you have not already subscribed, girl, get on that subscribe button. These podcasts are guaranteed to have you thinking differently about life and business. Let's jump right in.
Get ready, because today's guest is about to change the way you view your world. This is Her Talk Show, hosted by Sabrina Victoria.
Hello. Thank you so much for being here and for jumping on live already. We already have so many people jumping on. Thank you for being here. If you're watching us on the replay, make sure you jump in the comments and say hello so that we can show you some love too. We have had over 500 women grace this stage, and we are adding another one to the list today. Mackenzie Armstrong is a former educator turned Pinterest strategist. In the words of Johnny from Dirty Dancing, nobody puts baby in a corner. Instead of being the best kept secret with hidden content in the corners of your website and social media, Mackenzie teaches coaches and entrepreneurs with blogs and podcasts to fill their audience with ideal clients using Pinterest. Girl, I have a blog and a podcast. Let's go. She believes Pinterest is an underutilized, obviously, strategy for most entrepreneurs. I would probably agree with that because I don't think, and I'm in the world of entrepreneurship, I am surrounded by female entrepreneurs. Never have we talked about Pinterest. So when you talk about underutilized, girl, that's correct.
I'm so excited.
Love it. So first of all, why Pinterest? Like, what even made you jump into this area?
So when I started my online journey in a previous life, I was an educator. So when I started my online journey, I started out as a VA because I was like, I have no idea what I want to do in this space because it was like scary. I've never done anything online. And then as a VA, most of my tasks were social media. So Facebook, Instagram, all of those things. And I'm like, F this, I hate it. I hate talking in somebody else's voice. Like it didn't feel genuine or authentic for myself. So I'm like, hey, Pinterest is a search engine. So let's scoot over to there and just solely focus there. So that's really what I love about it. Cause it's like cut and dry. Do you want to learn this? Click here, X, Y, and Z, go to my website, go to my blog type thing. So there's no fluff like there is in social media where you're having conversations with people.
This is interesting. So it's a search engine. Can you explain that?
So Pinterest is not based off of followers. It's not based off an algorithm that's surrounded by followers and how you're interacting with people's content. It's solely focused on SEO. It's all about that search engine optimization and those keywords you're using, because Pinterest, the Pinterest users are going in and typing in keywords or what they're trying to find or learn. And that's how your content's being pulled up. So if you're hitting the words that your audience is using, the verbiage, then your content's going to be found, which is amazing because it's like a separate platform to house all of your content. So when you put a blog post out last week, but maybe your audience isn't ready to consume that until like in a year from now, so they can still search that.
What was that? Did you see that?
I did. It was a thumbs down.
That has never happened before. Is that new?
I don't know. I've never seen it before either.
Somebody's a Pinterest hater.
I know.
Show your face, jump in the comments, whoever that was. All right. Well, I'm super excited about this. I've never even thought of search engine versus regular social media, but can't you search also in Insta?
I'm not sure. That might be a new feature. Before, I just knew it was like you're scrolling. Because like my thing is like with Instagram and Facebook, like I find a post that I like, and then if I try to go back and find it, I can't ever find it again. Like it's like I gotta like dive deep to figure out where it came from. But with Pinterest, you can just use that search bar and find that content again. So
Wow, this is so interesting. Somebody said, I put one up, girls. I put one up, girls. I don't know what that means. Maybe that was to the thumbs down. Maybe they accidentally pressed that. Okay, so when you say put nobody puts baby no corner, what does that mean? Is that like somebody's contents?
that's like so that's just kind of like how I feel about when people like nobody put and everybody knows that from Dirty Dancing, nobody puts baby in a corner.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of how I feel when you're putting your stuff on your website, because thinking about your website, if somebody goes to your website, they're not going to jump in the middle. You know what I mean? They might start at the top, they might start at the bottom, but on Pinterest, when you're searching that, it's going to take them right to that piece of content that they're needing. Whatever they're wanting to learn or consume, it's going to take them there. So it's kind of like taking out that aspect of putting your content like build up on your website without people viewing it.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. All right. Well, what's the first step in Pinterest helping us grow our email list? Tell us the things.
So first, you want to make sure that you have a business account, because when you have that account, the business platform, you're going to be able to get all those like awesome analytics and kind of really be able to see what your audience is interacting with, what they're not interacting with, which can then in turn later on down the road help you decide what type of content to put out in the future. Like, if you're like talking about marketing and people are not really resonating with a certain topic, then you might want to like ease off that topic, not necessarily like not use it or disregard it, but maybe not dive so deep into that topic. And then you want to make sure that your website is connected to your Pinterest. That is very key, because if they're not talking to each other, you're not going to get those analytics. And then third point is wherever you can type on Pinterest is a place to put keywords. Now, you're not going to want to like keyword stuff where you're just like marketing, business, you know what I mean? You want to write your content or your descriptions and stuff on Pinterest as like someone's going to actually read it. But ultimately, it's for the algorithm to know where and who to put your content in front of.
So when you're saying keywords, you're saying keywords written within the post, not the hashtags.
No, so you want to you want to use keywords in your profile description, in your board descriptions, in your pin descriptions, and your pin titles and your board titles. Those are where you want to put, because so if you're a Pinterest user and you go on Pinterest and you go to type something in, it's going to bring up the words that people are searching, and then it's also going to bring up it can bring up boards and it can bring up profiles. So if the keyword is in your profile or your board, it can send someone right to your account, your space. So anywhere you can type is a place for keywords for sure.
Awesome. So your business, turn it into a business account,
Mm-hmm.
get your website connected. What else?
Put those keywords in, and then my thing is with Pinterest is consistency, and that's whatever your consistency is. It's not like you have to do where like Facebook, you should really go in and engage every day. Like if you only want to pin every other day, then pin every other day. You choose what your consistency is, because Pinterest is not about comparing you to other people in your niche. It's about comparing you to your previous actions on the platform. So if you're doing pinning every other day, then continue pinning every other day. You can always up that, but just know that if you like decrease it, you might see a little fluctuation in your analytics, because it's relearning what you're doing. And the most amazing part is that like 97% of the brands on Pinterest are branded, not meaning like you're like we have brands, but we're not like we might not be a national like Coca-Cola or Nike. We're not going against those. It's all strictly through SEO. So you are on an even playing field with everyone in your niche, as long as you're hitting those keywords that your audience is using.
Meaning there's no way to boost, you mean? No way to pay?
No, you can pay for ads, but it's kind of like it just people don't have seniority in brand level. Like your seniority is built on your consistency on Pinterest and your how much you're putting out there of your content. So, if I'm a shoe company and I'm pinning every day, putting out my blogs, putting out my products, then I can be shown at the same level as like Nike because I'm hitting those keywords that my audience is using.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. So it's not based on likes and comments, for instance. So
Well, that helps. Well, that helps, but it's not all that. Like, it's not everything like where with Facebook and Instagram, it's all about like how many people are interacting and how many comments you're getting and how long you're engaging on the site. It's based off of that SEO traffic.
Very interesting. When you say have your website connected to your Pinterest, what is your, I guess, funnel or flow that you take your customers through as far as seeing something on Pinterest and then going to your website? What is your flow once they hit your website?
So from Pinterest will link to any URL that you put it to. So like say I put a blog post out, the people are going to click that pin and go to that blog post, and then I'm going to capture their email address through like an opt-in, a subscribe, however your flow is with that. And then that'll jump them into my email sequence to where then I can start to nurture them. They can start to like, know, and trust me. And then there you're able to warm your audience up and then have them be a frequent visitor to your website because you're emailing them.
Got it. So what do you use for your opt-in? Like, what's your flow?
So like I have people connect to a pin like through whatever content I'm putting out, either if I'm on a podcast and things like that, and then they can go in and opt into my lead magnet, and then there I'd be added to my email list through ConvertKit, and then I'll send them a welcome sequence, and then they'll be flushed into my normal weekly email sequence.
So you use ConvertKit?
Mm-hmm.
And then what is it just says like, join my newsletter. Like, what's your actual opt-in? What do you use? Like,
So my opt-in is like grab my free checklist of the 5 things that I do for every account to get them started on Pinterest. So my opt-in is like, the 3 things that we just talked about: the business account, the connecting, enabling rich pins. It just kind of gives the first 5 steps that I do when I am overhauling people's Pinterest accounts.
Got it. What do you suggest for individuals like myself that haven't touched it for 4 years and probably have a bunch of boards that are no longer necessarily linked to our business? Should we just like erase everything and start from scratch? What should we be doing?
So if you have action, like you have followers or viewers or whatever on your Facebook or your Pinterest, don't recreate the wheel. Just go into your account, and then if there's boards that don't align with your business now, then just secret them. So secreting your boards means that you can see them from the back end, but your audience can't see them on your actual account. So, and what I say is you want to have like at least 10 boards that reflect content that you talk about in your own podcast blog, because essentially you want to like pin. So like say for instance, this podcast, you might put this in like the best fitting board that you have might be business marketing. So you'll pin it there, and then in 21 days or 3 weeks to a month later, you'll pin it to another board that it's relevant to. And then in a month later, you'll pin it to another board that it's relevant to. And then you can keep pinning it to different boards 21 days later. And when I say pin, like personally for me, for my strategy for my clients, I create 7 to 10 pins per blog post or podcast. So you can have a new pin going out each day. And then 21 days to a month later, you can have it go back out to different boards, all of those pins each day. So it helps fill in your content calendar.
Okay, I am understand that. I actually logged into my Pinterest, so I only have I have 160 followers.
Okay. You don't want to, I wouldn't recreate I wouldn't start from zero. I would just go in and clean up. So that's either secret or archive. Because if you delete it and there's somebody that's following something on that board of yours, then you're going to lose that follower. So I would just secret it or archive it. And then just, I mean, you like for me personally, my Pinterest, I have a crap ton of like the stereotypical, like, recipes, baby stuff, nurseries and all that, but it's secret. Only I can see it. My Pinterest reflects all of the topics that I might talk about. And you can also do maybe a little a sideways or kind of off the beaten track of like what you do if it's going to help your audience. So like I don't talk about social media like strategy and things like that. But I have a board for that because my audience might find that useful, but it's like adjacent to Pinterest. So, but I don't put anything on there. It doesn't conflict with anything I say, and it's not a competitor. So.
Okay. So, so take me through you know how in social media there's two different types of people. There's business owners,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's like everyone else, just like people.
Mm-hmm.
So I think people on Pinterest are taking other people's content to create their boards, right? Like when you're saying recipes, you're taking other people's pins and you're pinning them onto your board so you can save those.
Mm-hmm.
As a business owner, so my niche is time management, procrastination, organization, business, money, entrepreneurship. So the object of the game for me to be able to utilize a Pinterest business account is for my boards that are visible to have my content in them.
Yes. And you can pin other people's content, but again, you don't want to pin a competitor, and you don't want to pin something that conflicts with what you're talking about. So like it used to be you could pin 10% of your content or 20% of your content and 80% of other people's content. That is totally flip-flop now. So like I pin 90% of my clients' content and maybe 10% of other people's content, but I'm strategic with it, with like it's not a competitor, it's not competing, and it could be valuable to my audience. I'm not just pinning it to pin it because it fits in that niche.
Okay.
I'm very strategic with that. And that's the thing is like Pinterest is constantly wanting new content. So by doing that, I'm focusing on my content and getting it in front of people that that may need my help, my services.
Okay. So so the people who are following me, the 160 people that are following me, as I secret or archive my older boards that are not aligned with my business, and I start opening new boards, they'll see, like when they open up, they'll all of a sudden just see one of my posts because they're following me.
Yeah. So it'll be on like their home screen feed of like, you follow, and it's kind of like you follow this person, so you might find this content useful. It's kind of just like the algorithm pulls kind of what they're interacting with and what they might find useful. And because they follow you, then you're more likely to be on their home feed.
Okay. And then as far as you talked specifically on blogs and podcasts. What is I've been on over 100 podcasts.
Okay.
I'm assuming I don't just put a board that says podcasts and put them all in there.
No, I would so I say pick the topics you talk about.
Okay.
and make the board that name. And look, I know everybody likes to be cute and fancy. Straightforward to the point is really what we want, because that's what people are searching for. We don't want to make it like this fluffy title, because that's not necessarily like, I'm going on Pinterest because I need a specific information.
Got it.
So I'm going to type in marketing strategy. You know what I mean? I'm not going to be like, oh, the easy peasy, great way to market. Like, no, marketing strategy,
Okay.
so and then yeah, so just on the topic, and then I also create a board that houses all of the personal content. So like the last board I always pin that content to goes into, the Her Talk Show podcast. So I usually
Okay.
have one that's labeled the client's content, because that's the last place it goes. So that way it's kind of like a bank of like, okay, somebody can go to your profile and be like, I want to look at all of her content. And then it'll show all the graphics to all the different podcasts and blogs that you've created.
Okay, awesome. And then for someone like me, which anyone watching this is probably going to be in a very similar boat as far as they've already have a ton of content.
Mhm.
How would you suggest somebody like take a couple weeks to set theirs up? Am I just supposed to dump it all in so it's in there and then we're just going forward? How do we do this?
So when you start your content, I would suggest putting out the content that you're creating now. So like when your podcast goes live, create 7 to 10 pins for it and then schedule that out. And then like say, like I always go to past content when like say like holiday time, like, people might not put a podcast episode, sorry, out in like December because it's Christmas time. So I'll go back and pick an old piece of content that I created in the past that I might not have pinned yet, and then pin that to continue my consistency, to continue the schedule of pinning that I've started. So don't backtrack. Don't go through and like delete old pins or anything like that. Just start fresh, moving forward, put your content out that you're creating now. And then if you need filler, then pull back from your reserve.
Okay. And then when you're saying you're pinning over and over again to different boards, it would be something like if I had, boards around the essence of entrepreneurship. So like social media strategy, and then, entrepreneurship. I would do one day one I drop like this one, for instance, social media strategy,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
Like for an idea. And then 2 days later, I could pin this same one in under entrepreneurship or female
So,
entrepreneur.
okay. So there are 3 types of pins. There's gold pins. These are my terms. Gold pins, silver pins, bronze pins. Gold pin is your first pin. It's going to be a new graphic and a new URL. The silver pins are new graphics and already used URL. And then bronze is what we're repinning later. And I use Tailwind as a scheduler for that part, that bronze pins. So say we create a week's worth of pins. So I have 7 pins that link to this podcast. So Monday, I'll put a pin out to this podcast. Then Tuesday, I'll put a different graphic to this podcast. Wednesday, I'll put a different graphic to this podcast, and so on for the whole week. And it's all pinned to the same board. It's all pinned to your business essence board. And then in 21 days later, I'll do the same thing to a completely different board, to your social media strategy board. And then a month later, I'll do it to a different board, maybe a marketing board. So, and you can, if you want, put your pins to a different board, but I find it's easiest to just do it to that main board that you want it to go to and pin it through Pinterest, and then use Tailwind or another scheduler to pin it out to that second board a month later, and then a third board a month after that. Because Pinterest used to be like you could put the same pin out constantly but now they're looking at it as spammy, and you don't want to get, knocked off or muted for a little bit because they think you're spamming. Does that make sense?
What causes the spam alert?
Just like that, if you're putting out the same, you only want to post a URL once a day. So you'll only want to post this URL once a day, and then wait, and then you can pin it once a day for a week or for 2 weeks, however long you want to do it. But you don't want to put like 7 pins to this blog post in the same day. You want to filter, space it out, pace it out over a week.
I understand. So our past content, we're supposed to just not worry about then? Like, don't even bother putting it up?
I mean, you can if you want, but I always like to be less like overwhelming. Just start moving forward once you get a little like acclimated with your scheduling and everything that you're doing. You can definitely go back and pin older content, or if it's something that like seasonal content, if you have Christmas content going out or whatever, definitely put your older content for Christmas out. But I just like, people seem to get overwhelmed with learning a new platform. So I just say, start where you are now today and move forward. And then later on, you can go ahead and filter in other content if you want.
When you're working with clients, how does that work? Do you have them pick like 20 URLs from the past so that you can start filling their board, or how do you do it?
So I do it with like, I'll look at their content and kind of see what their main focuses are, and I'll put those pieces of content out, and then I'll test every so often, like putting in a random something they might have spoken about randomly in their podcast or blog, and then put that out and see how it does. But ultimately we move forward, and then I'll go back in the reserve if they're like I'm not putting out content this month, I'll go back and pull other things. But ultimately I always try to like look forward to it. Like, it's not worth overwhelming yourself to get all of your content out. I mean, you could put it as where you you put out a new piece of content and an old piece of content, and that's totally fine. It's however you want to do it. And that's what I love about it. You're not pleasing an algorithm. You're doing what you feel is accomplishable for you and your business. Like, we don't need to overwhelm,
As far as your business and what you do, obviously we're getting a pretty good, first of all, to those watching live, thank you for being here and hanging out with us. Obviously there's a lot of people, Mackenzie, that are resonating with what you are talking about. So who should be reaching out to you? What specifically do you do for your clients?
For sure. So I have a VIP day that will get, if you're wanting your content or if you're running your account set up and optimized to where after the VIP day, everything will be set up for you, your strategy, and you'll only have to spend like 4 to 5 hours a month on your Pinterest. Or I also do monthly management where I will do everything for you, A to Z. All I need from you is your URL. So there's a couple different ways that depending on where you are in your business and what you're wanting to do yourself.
Fantastic. And who do you predominantly work with?
Coaches and service providers. I don't usually do product-based. That's a whole other kind of strategy. But anybody that has blogs or podcasts that they want to get in front of the right people, the right audience.
Beautiful. What do you suggest as far as the bio? Like, what should be in someone's bio?
You want to talk to your ideal audience, tell them what you do, use those keywords and how you can help them. Don't worry about putting your website in your bio. Don't worry about putting hashtags in your bio. You want to make sure that you're hitting some of those main keywords of people who might be searching for you, because you ultimately want to let people know what you can help them with X, Y, and Z, so that way they know that they're in the right place.
Beautiful. Do you know what the percentage or the statistics are for Pinterest as far as the conversion rate for businesses? Do you know any of that information?
So that depends on your niche ultimately and what you're talking about, but I do know that more than like 460 million people visit Pinterest monthly. So it's a huge pool of people that you could be getting your content in front of. And 80% of people go there to be inspired and are ready to buy. So just they people go to Pinterest because they have a specific need or specific information that they need. So why not you be the one to give it to them?
Beautiful. I love all of this. Thank you so much for all the things. Any closing thoughts as we wrap up? Anything we missed?
Just, it's never too late to start. Don't get overwhelmed. Do what you can and build from there. And, don't let those 460 million people pass you by.
Yes.
So,
Yes. And we're adding one to the list. I might be jumping back in, so my eyeballs
yes.
might be checking out your stuff too. Well,
All
this
right.
has been totally eye-opening. Definitely a reminder, right? A
Mhm.
reminder that Pinterest is there, and we don't really talk about it that much, but it's definitely necessary for those of us that own businesses to get on there and to get our easy access to our blogs and our podcasts. And this is a lot of
Mhm.
stuff that Facebook and Insta don't do. They don't let us do that stuff, right?
Mhm.
If I know when I put up URLs, I'll get one view.
Mm. Yeah.
They don't like that stuff. So Pinterest is the exact opposite.
Yep.
They
Pinterest wants you to learn and be inspired, and they want you to go to people's website to get the information you need. So
yeah,
that's the whole point.
yeah, smart. Very, very interesting. Well, thank you so much for your time, Mackenzie, hanging out here. For those of you that are interested in linking up with Mackenzie, check her website out. It is in a clickable link in the description wherever you're watching this at. You can find her at armstrongvirtualsolutions.com. What's your Pinterest?
My Pinterest, I'm sad to say, is a little lacking because I focus on everybody else's. I always do mine last. But it is under, you can find me through Mackenzie Armstrong, Armstrong Virtual Solutions.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much. This is her talk show. Thank you for Mackenzie for sharing your wisdom and inspiring us all. To our dedicated listeners, thank you for staying with us into the very end. We appreciate you. Remember to follow, like, and share before you jump off. My name is Sabrina Victoria. I invite you to join us at Her Nation. That is our community where we continue to have conversations just like this to keep us moving forward and upward in our life and our business.